All right, I've decided to go live just a couple minutes early to let everyone get on. How's everybody doing this Wednesday? I'm Barbara, and I'm excited to be here because we're talking about something that a lot of people don't talk about, which is follow-up. So we've got a couple of minutes. How is everyone's week going so far? Camila, thank you for joining. Monique, I'm happy to see you guys. So today I'm excited because this is one of those topics that it doesn't really matter what industry you're in, everybody's going to benefit from it. Every time that we talk about follow-up, people are like, and they get a little bit nervous about it or they get a little bit scared. And so today we're going to try to debunk all the myths that come with follow-up. So we've got some people joining us. I know Wednesdays are tough. In the multifamily industry, it's even harder because I remember the third, fourth, fifth of the month, all we're thinking about is collecting rent. And so to stop and to take a minute to do something other than collecting rent almost seems impossible. So I'm excited for those of you that have committed. We've gotten such good response on these lives. And what's really cool is that afterwards, we just see people continuing to watch them. We've hit over several thousand on, I think it was our outreach one. That one was extra popular. So if you missed that one, make sure to go back and watch it. Go back and watch all of the ones that you haven't seen because there's been a ton and we have so much good stuff coming up. So I'm super excited for you guys to see all of that. So as we're kind of waiting for everyone to get on, I wanted to do a couple of things. First of all, I want to take a minute and I want to share something, a little new member Sprout spotlight. And this was sent to me by my awesome customer service person, Anna. If you're here, Anna, high five. I'm so excited. So we recently started a new series for welcomes. We wanted to make it more personal. We wanted to make people to get really excited when they become a Sprout member. And it kind of ties in line to what we're talking about today. So I want to share this testimonial. Brand new client says, hey, we did watch the video series and we're so excited to be using this amazing platform. We appreciate the goodie coming our way. Please keep up the amazing work. And this was from a manager in Altamonte Springs, Florida. So we're super excited to have you guys. That's part of what we do with Sprout is we're just excited to try to make every touch point count. And so what I want to talk about for just a minute is if any of you have been following along with us and you're like, hey, I'm curious about Sprout. What in the world do you guys do? What we're going to have is Camilla's going to drop in the comments right now a link. Cedric's on, so if you guys don't know Ced, he's from our team too. Camilla's going to drop a link and you can set up a demo anytime that's convenient for you guys. And it's like 10 to 15 minutes to just go over what we actually offer. And then you too can feel like this new client in Florida. The second that you become a Sprout member, we totally try to baby you and take good care of you guys. So all right, we've got a few more eyeballs. As we're about to get started, I want to tell you guys this crazy little thing that happened to me this week. So I recently moved to this small town. We've got some folks from Alabama. Hello, Vicky. So I'm from the city, and a couple of years ago I moved to this small town. And so on the road that I'm on, it's literally a 2-lane road, and every time that we pass somebody, people wave all the time. So you're driving, you wave in the morning, everybody waves back. At first I wasn't used to it, and now I love it. When somebody doesn't wave, I'm like, what a jerk! I waved at you, right? So yesterday I had to go back to San Antonio to run some errands. I had some appointments and I'm driving down the road and I wave at somebody down the road and didn't even think twice. I'm waving and they kind of look at me do I know you? And it didn't register. So later on in the day, I'm getting in the car and I'm going down the road and I wave again. And this person kind of stops and is looking at me. And I totally realized that in San Antonio, nobody waves at each other. This is just a small town thing. So I had one of those really awkward, embarrassing moments. That's ever happened to you, that's my love language, awkward, making awkward conversation. So anyway, guys, today we are talking all about follow-up. And I love hearing in our notes that everyone loves our team. Cedric's super helpful. Thank you for sharing that. If you missed it, last week, Lauren and I put together marketing for the following month, which we're now in March, but it's not too late. If you guys did not get your planning kit, we've got it for you. So make sure that you click it. If you're on Facebook, the links are, Camilla's going to drop another link and it's going to be the link to the marketing kit in case you missed it. Great feedback so far. People loved it. We're going to do it every single month. It'll be a planning session. And what I love, it's like a show and tell. Last week, we had a whole bunch of goodies I shared these little things. Camilla put all this cute stuff from our team together. and it just gets people excited. So if you missed it, go back, you can still get your kit. And what I didn't tell you guys is that after we do this every single week, we post a blog that has the recap of this video, and it has all the resources we talked about. So no like worrying if you're not on here live. We'd love you live because it feels like we've got a little party going on. So, all right, so now up, let's talk follow-up. What I promised is we're going to keep it brief, but we're going to really pack a punch today. We're going to talk about 4 things. With follow-up, how do you lay the groundwork while you're on tour, right? So we don't have to do double work. This is all about efficiency. Second up, how do you create those follow-up touch points? How many? What's important? Creating a timeline of how to do this, and then automate it. So you guys, I've got my notes. As always, I came fully prepared to deliver today, and this is a compilation of some of our best ideas. And so I'm ready. If you guys are ready, let's all have some like little notes, because I think that when we write things down, don't just write down what I'm saying, but write down exactly what you're going to put into practice, right? So whatever you think, you're like, man, I want to try that. So here's the deal. Over 50% of prospects never get a follow-up, which is crazy to me, right? But the idea is that if we just start to follow up, we're right away increasing our odds of getting that lease. And the crazy thing is, from a sales perspective, we do so much to try to get that phone to ring. We're like putting ads up, we're trying to go outreach marketing, we do all this marketing. So then when people actually come in and they tour and then they leave and they don't immediately sign up, and we don't do anything, what we're basically doing is we're giving sales to the competition. On average, somebody has to be followed up with 5 to 12 times. I know it sounds crazy. And so I think the real reason that we don't follow up is because it's kind of like we don't want to be annoying. If you've ever felt that way, like you don't want to follow up because you don't want to be annoying, drop it in the comments, because I know that when I was a leasing agent, I would do at least 1 follow-up, but literally, let's talk about 5 follow-ups. I don't know that I ever went that far above and beyond. It felt awkward and it felt uncomfortable. Here is the deal. This is becoming more and more important because we are living in an age of distraction. This morning, Lauren and I were talking, and I was sharing these statistics on follow-up with her, and she said, no, she goes, I am living proof of that. She goes, people have to follow up with me over and over and over again, not because I'm ignoring them, not because they don't, it's not valuable. It's because at that minute, I'm not ready to take action because something else is more pressing. And I love it. Leslie, thanks for being on here. I know your team agrees. You guys are awesome. But we don't want to be annoying. But in this age of distraction, when we're all feeling like we're getting messages, we're just constantly filtering. Our mind is saying, I mean, if you look at my inbox, I leave unread things that I have to. And then after somebody comes in and persistently follows up, then I make sure and say, okay, now it's got my attention. So it's not because it's not important, it's just because it's not important at that time. So that's why those additional touch points. And guys, as life gets busier, it's only going to get more important that we follow up and that we figure out how to do it. So here's step 1. First of all, we have to be consistent. So if I had to say, come up with a super creative plan, that's phase 2. Phase 1 is just be consistent with your follow-up. Phase 2 is then we're going to start to up the game, right? After that, we'll start to up the game and we'll start to bring in this creativity. So the first thing I want to talk about is setting the groundwork. And the best time to do that is while you're on the tour. So I know as a leasing professional, managers, we're talking, we're touring, we're doing a lot at one time. But there does come a point in our career, and especially once we've been in a community for a while, when we can talk about our community almost without having to think through it. We're not as awkward anymore. We feel really comfortable. And when that happens, that's gold, right? Because now we can focus on building that relationship. So the very first thing that we want to do while we're on this tour is to take a personal interest. And what I'm asking is not just to listen for what people are saying, but also listen for what they're not saying. Maybe what they're conversing about with each other if there's more than one person there. Maybe something they say in passing. It's the little nuances about people that are going to be really critical to this kind of follow-up that I'm talking about. So one thing I want you to think about is having a few questions in your back pocket that you get really comfortable using. So for example, when it comes to your new place, what is your non-negotiable? A lot of times people, you can do a variation of this, but they speak to their heart. Absolutely, like I have to have X. And once you know that, they usually give you a little bit more. I have to have this because my daughter loves this. Or I have to have this because my husband leaves for work at this time in the morning and he works over here at the fire department and it's really important to me that X. It's the nuances and what's behind there that's going to tell you a lot. And then you need to have some back pocket questions that are just conversational, but that feed you a lot of really good information. And the more seasoned you get, the better this is. Now, You'll have those prospects that are just super closed off. They don't want to share much. But once you find whatever they're interested in, all of a sudden the floodgates open and they share so much. So even talking to them like where it's appropriate. You're in the kitchen. Well, what's your favorite kind of food? What do you like to do? See, here's what happens. Let's say, for example, they're like, well, I love to cook, and actually I have to cook a ton because I have a gluten allergy. Boom, bingo, that's my little hot button. I'm going to save that, store it away for later, and I'll show you how we're going to use it in our touch points. Or how do you like to spend your weekends? Like, are you the kind that's like at the gym Sunday morning, or are you like wanting to go to brunch? Like, what do you like to do? I always like to say, find out what people like to do Sunday morning and Monday morning, because you know what they do for work when they have to be somewhere, or what they're doing with their kids. And then Sunday mornings tells you what they can do when they have their free time. And those are key points. So set the groundwork by gathering information, but not just generics, right? Nuances, things that are a little bit unique about that person. Now, share your nuances, make yourself memorable. So if I was still in the leasing game, I'm always trying to talk to people, trying to connect. Maybe I might share something about my dog. I've got a 120-pound Doberman that is my baby, literally makes me feel like when I'm coming home, like, the best person in the world. If they have a pet, we connect. Or I might share something totally different. Like, for example, I might say, hey, I'm Barbara. And as we're talking, I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah, I know how crazy life is. My husband and I have been building this container home. It's crazy. We've got like 3 shipping containers, and it's been this experience. And I've been living in this fifth wheel in the middle of the country, like, so not, right? All of a sudden it's like, what? And you've got these talking memory points that you can use in your marketing. So those are the things that you're going to do while you're on the tour, and you're going to take notes. So if you're the kind of person that absolutely needs to have a notepad, I recommend it. Most of us do. But I also have to say, I listened to a podcast recently. We remember what we want to remember. So if the person is important to us, remember their name and remember what is important to them. So if it's Marcy and she just had a baby, that's my sister, think about that and say, okay, I'm going to remember Marcy. She's got a little one, Marcy mom, Marcy baby. And you start to remember, right? If this person is important to you, they're going to feel it, and then you're going to remember, and this follow-up is going to be way more personal. Next point. The only reason that follow-up is annoying is if we follow up just to ask if they're going to lease the apartment. Follow-up that is based in adding value, solving a pain point, or surprises and delights. Those are the 3 things. Never will somebody complain if you do one of those 3 things. So if your follow-up adds value, if it fixes a problem, or if it's just surprising and it's a fun thing that they've gotten, they're gonna be excited to get it. So what are some of those things that we can do? Well, in our industry, we do nurture series, right? We use MailChimp, and we have a nurture that basically says, we know that when somebody's a cold, interest, they're probably not immediately going to buy from us. So over time, we nurture them, right? And we do that by adding value. If we're just saying, hey, we're Sprout, buy from us. Hey, haven't heard from you this week. You going to buy from us next week? After a while, that's annoying. And I would definitely not open that email, right? But if we're adding value through our nurture, then people look forward to getting our emails. And after they do, then they start to trust us. And I guarantee you, a lot of leasing professionals are not doing that. So what can we do? Well, when we think in terms of nurture for our apartment industry or for real estate professionals, think in terms of adding value, solving pain points, surprising and delighting by remembering the nuances. So you might start with something like they mentioned that they're gluten-free. They have a gluten allergy, so they cook at home a lot. So imagine if in your first follow-up you said, hey, so-and-so, it was so good to meet you. After you left, I was thinking about how you mentioned that you are living a gluten-free lifestyle. And I wanted to tell you that there's actually this great restaurant just 2 minutes down the road, and they have amazing gluten-free food. One of our coworkers goes there often. It's personal and it will make an impact. Or if somebody said, hey, you mentioned that you love to bike. I know I told you about the trail, but just in case you wanted to check it out even before you move here, here's where it is. Here's where it's located. They're having these events coming up this week. Super personal. Let's say somebody else mentions that they have children in a school district. Hey, you know what? I know that you mentioned that your young one is in elementary. I wanted to share with you a little information about this school specifically. A couple of years ago, they won this award, or they're doing this program. Again, very personal. It makes an impact. Or adding value. Like, I know moving can be stressful. We found this checklist to help, and we have this moving company that is incredible. Even if you don't decide to move here, I wanted to share their information because literally we've never had any issues with them. So there you're adding value, you're solving a pain point, and you're surprising and delighting. So your touch points can be a phone call. It can be an email. Even if it's a phone call to just say, hey, I wanted to just double check. I sent you an email with some of the attachments we talked about, those floor plans and things that you could show your husband. I just wanted to make sure you got it. Years ago, I shared this website, and it's still in existence, slydial.com. You can thank us later. That one is awesome because it sends you straight to voicemail. So say they just leave, you don't want to, you don't want to like right away call and harass them. You want to just leave a voice message, Slydial, input their phone number, and then boom, you're straight to their voicemail. So I love that. Now, when you're thinking about emails, here's a few tips on how you can do this. And I'll share some tools because I promise we're going to talk about automating and we're talking about making it simple. So let's say, for example, we know buying a home or we know choosing your home can be a really important and really stressful decision. And there's a lot of like things that go into it. Instead of hearing it from me, I wanted you to hear from one of our long-term residents and hear what they love living about there. So you share a testimonial of somebody that's lived at your community 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years. If you can get this on video, even better. So super cool idea, but it can be part of an automated email series. Another one, hey, I know we got to meet. I wanted to make sure that you meet our property manager. She's just going to send a message to you via video. Click here on the link. Now, you don't have to recreate these videos every single time. Create it once. So if I was a manager, hi, I'm Barbara. I'm so excited that you're thinking about making Park Place your new apartment home. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you. I've been at this community for 3 years as the community manager. I love being here, right? It's personal. It can be 30 seconds or less, and it's super easy to do. So again, part of automating, do a lot of these videos and these follow-ups in advance. Another one from maintenance, right? Maintenance is one of the biggest decisions why people don't renew. If you've got a long-term maintenance person, or they're very knowledgeable, or they're funny, a quick video of the maintenance person, supervisor introducing themselves. Or let's say you have a lot of FAQs, or you want to show them how to fill out an application online. So 2 of the resources that I like, Loom is a free resource where you can screen and audio record. Our partner that helps us with our Facebook ads, that's how we communicate. He sends me Loom videos all the time. Alan, thank you. I love it. And you can do that. So you can say, hey, just jumping on. I know sometimes it gets a little confusing of how to do X. Let me show you how to do it real quick. And you can send video, screen grabs, or just audio. So it makes any email just a little bit more personal. And Wistia is another one that we use. There's a free version and then there's a paid. But what's cool about those videos is you can add calls to action. So you can say, hey, so-and-so, it was so good to talk to you. I wanted to show you some pictures from our latest community event. Click here. And you can add that call to action. Or you can say, hey, just in case you didn't have that application handy, here's a link to it. And if you have any questions, here's an FAQ video. Click here. So those things make it interactive. What I want you guys to remember is think of these touch points as a nurture series. So when you're a B2B business, there's my husband, he's calling me during my live. If you're a B2B business and you're trying to, do an automated series, you might have one that lasts for months and months. In the apartment industry, maybe even in real estate, we may not have that much time. So you might need to have these touch points a little bit back to back. In order for them not to be annoying, they need to add value, fix a pain point, surprise and delight, and a mix. You want personal, but you also can do some automated that feels personal. These videos that you create in advance, you're talking to one person. You don't have to make it cold. So because it's automated doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be have that personal feel. Now, something that we do automated for the Sprout members, and I want to share that with our members right now, is we do a Mad Libs, which means we've created a bunch of different follow-up templates that you can then make your own. And I wanted to share for those of you that are on, I'm going to copy and paste this one right here. So on Facebook, and then for those of you on Instagram, I know you can't see it right now, but what I'm going to do is you can look on Facebook later, or I'll make sure that you guys get the information there. So let's see if it went. There we go. Okay, so excited to have so many of you joining us today. All right, so there is like a little Mad Libs. So for the Sprout members, you've got tons of those plus graphics that match. So you can make your email headers look really awesome. You can add fun graphics in there about what you're talking about. But we also do a lot for those that don't love to write, because we know writing can be hard, especially if you're in the mindset of operations. So when you go in the membership, search follow-up, tons of templates there that you can copy and paste and make your own. But where you see insert, that's where you make it your own. It's the Mad Lib style. Now, if you're not a member and you're like, why do I not have this in my life? Camilla, drop them a line, show them where they can get a demo. These guys, you know you're gonna love it, because again, it makes it super easy to then create these touch points. So part of the automation process that we're talking about is doing things like these Mad Libs, doing these pre-recorded videos, but then laying out a timeline. So step one might be right after they leave, I'm immediately sending them an email, and maybe a little bit later, I'm going to use slide dial and make sure they get a voicemail a little bit later to double check that they got my email. Nowadays with spam, that kind of stuff happens. Then a couple of days later, maybe I'm going to then send them a value add, right? So I'm going to send them an email from my manager, my maintenance team, something, or a testimonial. Stagger those a day or two in between each other. If you guys, I'm thinking I'm going to do a MailChimp training so that you can see how we create our nurtures. If you guys think you'd like that, I think I'll do that for you. I think you will like that. It'll just make it a lot easier. So then you might say, okay, I got their number. I might send them a text message with a link to something that they might want to check out. Maybe the restaurant I talked about. If I have their social, I might message them if that doesn't feel intrusive. Again, you've got to figure it out. Snail mail. Nowadays, people literally do not get really fun things in the mail. So anything that you can send that is fun or different. So I've got on here, let me see, where did I put my note? This is what happens when you have too many stickies. Okay, so a couple of the things when you think about snail mail, anything that's 13 ounces or less, you can drop in the mail. So we've done some crazy stuff like flip-flops, okay, I know I wrote all of this down. Oh, there it is. Okay, so anything 13 ounces or less, you can definitely drop in the mail, like flip-flops. We've even done things like, just like all sorts of random things, chapstick, but what I love is on Amazon, you can get these tiny little envelopes, do untraditionally sized. So either really big envelopes or really small. That way, when they're getting all their mail, it stands out as either super tiny or super big. Again, surprise and delight. You guys, I love hearing everybody's ideas and the laughs and the giggles, because this is what marketing is about. It's about being fun. And then I do want to share beyond that, there is a really fun app called Pixie Note, which I just started using, and it sends some really cool follow-up. And then my girlfriend, Leasing Leah, that's on here, she has shared with me Punk Post before, where they do these beautiful handwritten letters that you type in the message or whatever. How awesome is that? She sent me one, and the imagery, the way they wrote it, super beautiful. And then if you're a Sprout member, you guys don't have to go anywhere. You know you've got all your follow-up. Just search follow-up, download them. We even give you the ideas of what to put in there, because we want to make it super, super easy. So automate it by coming up with these things, build your timeline that your team knows about, then set up a consistent data follow-up. Guys, follow-up takes time, but why are we doing all of this if we're not following up with the leads we have? Why are we spending all this money if we don't do it? So for you managers, it's really up to you to set the pace and then allow the space for the team to do it. So this is your follow-up time. This is when you're, working on that. Okay, and then make those generic videos in advance. Save your follow-up templates in a Google Doc. Again, if you've got a really great writer on your team, make it special, make it awesome. Do not be afraid to follow up. You guys, follow-up is such a critical piece. Again, I heard the stat this morning on an awesome podcast that the average person has to be followed up over 5 times for them to say yes. In the comments, I've heard you guys say, we are so busy. So don't feel like you're a pain. That's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So part of what we talked about today, lay the groundwork. The biggest thing I can say, show a personal interest in people and then weave that into your email, right? Make it personal. What is it about that person that's special to them? We know, we've heard it said many times, the what's in it for me. People want to know that you remember their name. They want to know that you remember their feelings and what's going on incorporate that in your follow-up. Have those multiple touch points. Set them in advance as a team. Next Monday, as part of your meeting, lay out what are the 5 to 6 touch points we're going to have. One's going to be this email. Here are the templates we're going to use. We're going to get on Sprout. We're going to download some graphics. 2 is going to be a phone call. Hey, what do you say on the phone call so it doesn't feel so awkward? Work it as a team. 3, we're going to send out a testimonial. We know you're going to love our community as much as this resident did. Hear it from them. 4, going to be a video from our manager. 5, a video from our maintenance team. 6, we're going to call them to action all throughout. And don't forget your PS. The PS is always that little space that we always look for in an email. And Amy Porterfield did an entire episode on how critical that PS is. Make it count. Make that your call to action. By the way, we're ready to have you live here. Show some excitement. Transfer that energy. They're going to want to know, why should I pick you? And you're going to tell them, you're going to pick me because I've gone to all this effort to show a personal interest in you. And then automate what you can, because guys, you are the busiest people that I know. So I've officially gone over my promised 15 minutes, but come on, who thought that I was going to do this in 15 minutes? There was just too much stuff to share. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I would like to, again, don't forget, you want to demo Sprout. There's a link for that. You want to check out our journey guidebook. Camilla's going to add that. That's an opt-in that helps you focus on those touch points. That one specifically, make follow up the one that you do. Download, it's a 7-page, I think, packet. Print one of those, work on follow-up, and then next week, let me know how it goes. Guys, we're here every Wednesday. Next week, we're talking renewals. We'll keep it to something very specific on renewals, how we have those touch points throughout the life cycle. And we got so much good stuff coming up. So if you like it, let us know that you're liking these. Message us on what kind of topics you want. And then afterwards, share them with your friends. Tag them in the comments. If there's somebody that you're like, my regional needs to see, or a sister community, make sure to tag them, because that's how the momentum is building. So thank you guys all for being on today, and we love you. We hope you have an awesome rest of the week. Go get that rent, and we will see you guys next Wednesday here on Instagram and on Facebook. See y'all later. Bye, guys. And there, see y'all later.